Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. And today's video, which is going to be my February wrap-up. I didn't read a whole ton of books, but the books that I have been reading have been really good, and I'm really excited to talk to you guys about them. I've been reading some really great books, and I feel like it's been a really great reading month. But let's just get started. Here are the books that I read in February. The first book I read in February was People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. Emily Henry is a beloved author that everyone has been talking about. I've never read anything by her. I know she has a book called Beach Read, which I really want to read now after reading this. I've never really been interested in her books before because, I don't know, I just haven't been a huge romance reader before, and I haven't been a fan of covers like this, so they haven't really been calling my attention. But I actually really enjoyed this book, so I'm excited to read more of her books and books like this. In this book, we follow Poppy and Alex, and they have been friends for many years. They met in college and have been friends ever since, even though they're very different. Poppy is a really outgoing person that has this huge wanderlust. She wants to travel the world. She wants to do all of these things. She has so many goals and dreams and plans. And then we have Alex that is kind of like easygoing, doesn't really want what she wants. He's very laid back, would rather stay at home with a book than go traveling. So they're very different, but even though they're different, somehow they really have this huge connection as best friends. And they have this routine that every summer, every year, they go on vacation together, because the summertime is the only time when they get to be together, because after college, you know, they have different jobs and they have moved to different places, so they can't really hang out as much as they want. But they have this routine that every summer they go on a vacation together and spend that time together, and it's just, you know, a really special thing to have with someone that's your best friend. But 2 years ago, something happened that made Poppy and Alex not friends anymore. They don't speak anymore. They don't have any contact. And as a reader, you don't know what that is yet. So what I loved about this book is that we have like two timelines, kind of. So we have the present, where you follow Poppy, and she is kind of describing that 2 years ago, you know, was the last time she had contact with Alex because of something that happened. And you find out along the way what happened. You don't find out right away. And Poppy is feeling really lost. She doesn't feel the spark anymore that she used to for life or for anything, just because she really misses Alex so much. And then you have the other timelines, which is all the summers that have been going on travels together. So you have the first summer, you know, the summer that met in college, and then you have every summer up until now, like when they have gone traveling together. So you follow them in so many different countries, so many different places, and it's just a really fun and amazing travel book nonetheless. Not only a romance, but you get to follow along on so many cool adventures around the world. And then you have, you know, in the present, where you as a reader are trying to find out what happened 2 years ago between these two people that made them not speak anymore. And they are Poppy's really determined to want to contact Alex again and make amends and have him back as a best friend, and you follow them along on that journey. And it's just such a great book. I loved it so much more than I thought I would. It was really atmospheric with the traveling, of course, and so cute, because these two people have been best friends forever, and how that kind of evolves into something more. And it was such a good book. I highly recommend it. This book has 361 pages, and honestly I think that was the perfect amount of pages. Please go read this. The next book I read this month was The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. This has obviously been so highly spoken of. Like, it's even a movie now, which I actually watched after reading this one. But I haven't been wanting to pick it up because, as I said earlier, I haven't really been a huge romance reader lately or before. I am now more. Like, I've been loving this genre lately, and it just, you know, again, the cover just doesn't really speak to me. But I did end up picking it up just because of all of the hype, and I'm so glad I did actually pick it up, because this was really fun. I would say it was a fun time. In this book, we follow Lucy and Joshua, who is working together at this office. I think it's in publishing or something to do with books, I'm not sure. And they have, you know, they work in the same office, kind of have the same position kind of thing, and they have, you know, their desks right next to each other or like facing each other, and they hate each other. They are like, both of them are very stubborn, competitive, just they're very alike in that way. And when this huge opportunity comes up at the office that has offered this like new position, both of them are very interested in this opportunity to get a higher position at the office, and they are competing against each other to get this promotion. And the person who wins this promotion will be the boss of the other. So if Joshua wins, he will be Lucy's boss, and if Lucy wins, she will be Josh's boss. But Lucy hates him so much that she's determined to quit her job if Joshua wins. So they are kind of competing against each other to get this promotion. To, you know, it's their dream, they really want it, and it's a really good opportunity. I did think it was a little bit childish at some points, because I mean, they hate each other, but for what? You have not really gotten a reason for their hatred towards each other. But to me, it's not really hate, it's more like hate love, because you know, they're cold to one each other, but it's also kind of flirty, like how they speak to each other and how they look at each other. It's just really a flirtatious thing, I don't really know. And I felt like it was a little bit childish, because Lucy, in one scene, she was writing on a computer working, you know, and her password was "I hate Joshua forever," and it was just like, what? And like, I get if something happened between them, that's why they hate each other, but I can't recall like something actually happening between them that made them hate each other. It's just that they both are so stubborn and so like competitive, I think, that it's just they have this really weird relationship towards one another. But you know, since this is a romance, of course their emotions evolve into something else. Their emotions towards each other are already really passionate, you know, because hate and love are both really passionate feelings. So I feel like they already had really strong feelings for each other, but like it slowly evolves into something real. And I did really enjoy it. It was fun, it was easy to read, but honestly I don't think it lived up to the hype. I think it's a very typical hate to love romance, office romance, working the same job kind of thing. It was fun and all, and I really did actually enjoy the movie. I love Lucy Hale. I think she's the perfect cast for Lucy. Like, I could not see anyone else. Short, super cute, and just like the black hair, red lips. She was just perfect for the role, honestly. But I don't think it lived up to the hype. Since it was so freaking hyped up, I don't think it lived up to that. But I still do recommend it if you're looking for something fun and like you're into romances, hate to love. It's really fun, it's really easy, definitely. So, and this book has 363 pages. The next book I read this month was November 9th by Colin Hoover, and I was just sitting here and wondering how the heck am I gonna describe this, because when I see this cover, when I think of this book, I have 1,000 emotions running through me. I have 1,000 pictures in my head. I don't know how I'm gonna sit here and try to explain them to you guys. Like, okay, I'm gonna try. It's hard because this was just such an emotional roller coaster in my opinion. Okay, so we have Fallon and Ben. Fallon is wanting to be an actress her entire life, and she has kind of worked as an actress until one day she got in a really bad accident at her father's house. A fire started and she got burns all over her body and some parts of her face, which made the actor industry don't want her anymore, which, you know, is really messed up. And that accident happened on November 9th. So that date for Fallon has a really hard meaning for her. You know, every year on November 9th, she's gonna think of this, you know, and it's not gonna be easy. She's gonna have a really complicated relationship with this date, November 9th. And Fallon has decided to move to New York. She's now living in LA, and she's decided to do this cross-country move because she wants to try to live her dreams there, because she doesn't feel like LA is working out for her anymore. So at November 9th, this present year, she is meeting her dad at a diner, and she's gonna tell him that she's moving. And she has this kind of hate for her father because she believes that her father was kind of responsible for the accident because she was in his house and he didn't try to rescue her. So in the beginning, you kind of start off hating her father. You do get a better explanation towards the end of what actually happened, but in the beginning you really just like, you don't like her father. He's just a really mean person, and he's also like a famous actor. I don't think I mentioned that, which makes it even more ugh, you know. And at this diner on November 9th this present year, Fallon meets Ben, and Ben is an aspiring novelist who is trying to, you know, find a story to write about because he really wants to be an author. They meet very accidentally, or that's what you think at least. And they kind of, you know, have this really huge connection. But you mean Fallon is moving this evening to New York City, so they can't really have a relationship, but they really have this huge connection, and they decide to meet up every year on November 9th for the upcoming 5 years. And that alone is just really like, you meet this guy one day and then you have this huge connection that you decide to meet up on every November 9th. Like, that's such a beautiful thing. So you get to follow each and every chapter. So the first chapter is the first November 9th, and the second chapter is the second November 9th, and the third is third November 9th. I think you understand. So you only, what's really unique about this book, you only read about one day each year. And at every November 9th, you are seeing these people meet again and talk about where they are in life. How are you doing with your acting, and how are you doing with your writing the book? And you do find out some things along the way of how Ben actually did not meet Fallon in an accident. Like, it's just, this is what I'm talking about. Like, I can't explain my feelings because it has so much going on in it. It had so many secrets being released, and I just, It's a beautiful love story about these two, but also like such a passionate story about so many other things. It was heartbreaking, it was emotional, and you kept like being on the edge of your seat because there were so many secrets that you found out along the way that really made you surprised, like how these things were connected that you didn't think. It was just, oh, please go read this if you haven't. Be prepared to cry and be like emotional and stable after this, because I really was. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. It's definitely on top of the list of my Colin Hoover favorites, so definitely recommend it. This book has 307 pages. The next book I read this month was Reminders of Him by Colin Hoover. Yet another Colin Hoover book, of course. In this book, we follow Kenna, who is just being released from prison where she has served 5 years for a terrible mistake. So now she's being released, and she's determined to go back to the town where everything went wrong because she has a 4-year-old daughter that she wants to reconnect with and obviously be a part of her life. And as to reason like why she was in prison, you slowly but surely found out along the way on this book what actually happened, because you do find out like what she's in for, but you don't find out how it actually happened, what's the truth to it, like what actually happened until a way into this book, which makes it really interesting because you wonder, you know, what actually happened that night that made her go into prison, you know. But being reunited with her daughter was so much harder than she thought it would be, because everyone around her daughter's life, like the people that are now taking care of her, doesn't want anything to do with her because of why she was in prison. And people are not even willing to give her a chance. People don't even want to hear her out of what actually happened, which is heartbreaking. Like, I understand they hatred towards her because she did a terrible mistake, but I'm just so mad because they won't even hear her out. They won't even hear her story or even, you know, just listen to her. But the people around her daughter's life are just judging her and think she will take her daughter and run away, which is not what she wants. She just wants to have this connection with her daughter and to be a part of her life again because she is the mother. And Kenna one day accidentally meets a guy that has a connection to her daughter, and they hit it off. They have this really huge connection, but when he finds out that it's Kenna, because she used a false name, when he finds out that it's Kenna, he doesn't want anything to do with her. He shuts her out. He doesn't want anything to do with her until he starts to hear her out, to listen to her. He kind of feels sorry for her, and he wants to help her reconnect with her daughter, which is this beautiful thing because it's like her against the world. And then this guy comes along and he really wants to help her and support her, which is hard because he also understands the other side of it, that they don't want anything to do with Kenna because of what happened. While the romance are getting stronger between these two people, the risk is also getting stronger, and it's just a really heartbreaking and sad story about love and family. And it's just, if you have seen my reading vlog on this, you know I sobbed. I straight out sobbed. I have not cried this much in a book ever. I've cried in 2 books and they've both been Colin Hoover, but this, like, I sobbed. I could not stop crying. And it was so funny because I had makeup on. I was like leaving for work in like 2 hours and I sobbed. I was like, how am I ever gonna get to work? How am I gonna be at work in 2 hours and actually be talking to people and just like, no. But if you are planning to read this, please be aware that it's emotional, it's heartbreaking, but also so hopeful and inspirational. I cannot recommend this book enough. I don't know if I gave a good explanation, but if you want a more in-depth, like, I have a reading vlog on it where I only talk about this, and I just, you know, I tabbed it, I annotated it. I don't know if you can see, but like I have so many tabs and so many, it was such a good book. Like, please go read this, but be aware, like, I warned you. This book has 320 pages. The next book I read in February was Starsight by Brandon Sanderson. This is the second book in the Starsight trilogy, or I don't know if it's gonna be more books, but now it's a trilogy. And this is a reread because I recently got Cytonic in the mail, which is the newest book, and I wanted to refresh my memory on the series, so I decided to pick up the second book because the first book was still kind of fresh in my memory, so I felt the need to pick up this one only. Since this is the second book in a series, I can't talk too much about it because if you have not read the first one, it's gonna be spoilers for you and I don't want that. But basically the series is all about Spensa, who is trying to work towards her dream to become a pilot, but she's kind of struggling because her father has this really bad reputation as a pilot, which makes everyone think she's gonna do the same. So she's kind of fighting towards her dream against the odds, kind of, you would say. And Spensa also has this special powers or special gift which people don't really know about because it could be dangerous, people could be after her, but it's just a really cool sci-fi series and I really do like it. I'm not a big sci-fi person, but this, like, I can get through these books, but I'm not a big sci-fi person, so I don't really have a lot to compare it to. But I just think it's a really cool story about this badass girl who's trying to fight for her dreams, and you have a lot of different cool creatures and aliens and stuff, so definitely a really cool one. And if you're into science fiction, I would highly recommend this series. This book has 457 pages. The last book I read in February was Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. This has been on my TBR forever since I started this community of BookTube and Bookstagram because I remember seeing this all over. But it has always been so expensive on Amazon and where I buy my books, like for a hardback, it's been super expensive. And then one day I just went scrolling through Amazon looking to buy some books, and it was so low, the price, and I clicked immediately because I was so scared to miss out on the opportunity. So I clicked it, I bought it, and I'm so glad. Like, this was such a good thriller book. It's probably one of my new favorite thrillers of all time. Not that I've read many, but this definitely tops the list. So in this book we have two timelines, the past and the present, and in the past we follow Maggie, who is a 5-year-old kid who is with her parents moving into this really old haunted house. It has a history of being haunted, but you know, the parents don't really believe it, so they buy the house even though they're questioning why the price is so low for this, because it's like a huge house, you know, and a beautiful house. It's old, but it's still like really big and beautiful, and the parents are wondering why the price is so low. And the real estate agent is talking about how a lot of death has occurred in this house, and murder, and a lot of that has happened, but the parents kind of brush it off. They still buy it because, you know, they don't believe it's actually haunted. But slowly but surely the parents and Maggie are starting to, or actually it's mostly Maggie and the father that are starting to hear stuff. They are starting to see stuff and realize that it actually might be a haunted house where things are going on, creepy things are happening. Oh my gosh. And then we have the present time where Maggie is all grown up, she's an adult, and her father just passed away and left the house to her, which surprises Maggie because Maggie thought that he would have sold the house because they only lived there for 20 days and then they fled, so they didn't have the house for a long time. So Maggie's now responsible for the house, and her plan is to go back there to renovate it and then to sell it to get some good money out of it. And her father was a famous author, and actually the past timeline is written, or the past timeline is his book, because he wrote a book that's called House of Horrors, that about like events that happened in this house, so like ghost stories, and that is the past timeline. It doesn't feel like you're reading a book, it's just kind of like a diary that he wrote about awful things happening in this house. But Maggie, growing up and still now, thinks that all of the things that he wrote is fiction. She doesn't believe that any of that was real because Maggie can't remember anything happening when she was young. Like, she don't remember anything of the house, so she thinks it's fiction, that all of those things actually never happened. So Maggie returns to this house, you know, see how it looks like, what is she's gonna renovate, and she is starting to realize that it might not have been fiction what her father wrote, because weird things are happening, things are moving, she hears things, she sees things. She is just experiencing some really creepy things in this house, which is just like so good and so creepy. And what I really love about this book is you had so many questions as a reader, because there are some like secrets in this house and you think you had the answers, but then no, something changed and you got a whole completely different answer. And then like you just kept being so like frustrated in a good way. Is this actually what happened, or no, that's not what happened, this is the truth? Like, you were just like on the edge all the time, and it was just so good. Like, I loved it. It's like one of my new favorite thrillers. I loved it even more than Lock Every Door, also by Riley Sager, which I actually really enjoyed as well, but this I think is even better. You have this haunted house setting with creepy things going on, ghosts, spirits, but it's not actually what you think. Like, I'm just amazed at the ending. you had so many things that you believed and then you were like, no, that's not what actually happened. It's so fun. Like, I was so surprised at the end because it was just not what you think. So I definitely recommend it if you are into thrillers. This was such a good read. This book had 384 pages. But yeah, that was it for my February wrap up. If you haven't read any of these, please let me know. If you're wanting to, let me know your thoughts. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in one of my next videos. Bye.